It's going to be no surprise that there's a huge divergence between the way we look at this situation, what we focus on. Let's talk about dollars. $1.25 billion likely borrowed. Haven't even spent 10% of it. If it's all about the money, well, of course it's all about the money. The institutions want the money. My hair cutter has her husband go into the hospital for a shoulder reattachment, and in her presence is told, be sure and mark this as a COVID. She asks, what do you mean? And all she gets is a shrug of the shoulders. That's the world we live in, because hospitals need the money. Why do they need the money? Because they're not doing anything else. This declaration should have been done 2 months ago, because each and every item in the gentleman on the second floor's proclamation have not come to pass. None of the facilities named in that proclamation are overburdened. None have even come close to being overburdened. The idea that somehow we are not an equal branch with the other two, well, that can be debated. But to pretend that we can't make the determination for ourselves that 1008 specifically says we may do this at any time. To assume for a moment that the reason we are here does not have any bearing on the emergency, the reason that this extraordinary session is here has no bearing on the emergency, is to mistake the very foundation for what we're doing here. This emergency declaration created the situation that we're in, not the virus. The reaction to the potential damage of the virus, the government's. Oh, isn't that normal for the government to create the problem and then figure out a solution? It's always more draconian, it's always more expensive. FEMA money, CARES money, but we don't have to worry about that because it's not Idaho money, even though, obviously, Idaho taxpayers are paying primarily the interest on the money that's being borrowed and then given to us, gratuitously, given to the state. When we look at how much money is coming in because of this declared emergency, stage 4 doesn't even require masks. When we talk about Trump and Hannity, we see that masks is a political statement. The CDC has been very clear. Cloth masks are of no value. N95 masks are of no value. But because we have a political statement that we need to make, and I'm making one by not wearing a mask, so understand, I'm not saying that if you have a mask, you're making a political statement, and if you don't have it is a political statement either way. And that's what I hear at home. It's a political statement. We're making a statement. We make jokes, etc. I am in a conservative district, obviously. Perspective that I carry on this is obviously different than many of us, and I understand that. But it's important that I articulate to the body that the constituents that I represent are saying, this is hurting my business. I am unemployed, and yet the hospitals are going wanting. The hospitals are so desperate that they're making up the statistics, which, by the way, I agree with a good representative from 17. Come next session, we need to do some auditing. We need to get to the bottom of what these agencies and these hospitals and these providers are doing to create a bigger mess than it already is. At that time, there'll be questions about wasting our time. There'll be questions about whether we should be bothering with this. And yet, if we continue down this path as a body, we're going to continue to be the minor, the junior branch of government. This can't be. This cannot be. What's important to me, and yes, I think the Declaration should pass, and I don't know what the body on the other side is going to do, but what's important to me is that this is a determination that the body must make. The House must address this issue and come to a conclusion one way or another, whether we believe, as an equal branch of government, that someone has overstepped their authority constitutionally with respect to separation of powers, the idea that somehow statutes can be just changed, altered, suspended by the gentleman on the second floor is astounding to me. That even anyone in this body for a moment thinks that we're a junior branch, that we've got to ask permission to do anything. Well, again, it's astounding to me because I have a different perspective. I look at things slightly differently, obviously. It's essential that we decide that the items listed in the Declaration of Emergency have not come to pass. It's essential to recognize that 1008 says that we have this power at any time. It's essential that the gentleman on the second floor suspend the Declaration if this body, both houses, make the determination that it's over. And then if he wants to go ahead and declare again 2 days, 10 days, a month later that the emergency exists, then he owns that. But at least have the items listed in his proclamation have come to pass. They have not. The hospitals are not, the providers themselves are not overburdened. And it's been that way from the beginning. I urge this House to send the message that we are an equal branch and our conclusion is different than the gentleman on the second floor, and pass this to the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.